gotta wake up and realize.
Hey, how you doing out there? Welcome back to another episode of Open Doors. It's your brother, Chris Harris. I'm back at you again with another great topic. I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful that you took the time to check out this podcast, to check out this episode. Before we get started, I need you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, because here at Open Doors, we're dropping episodes fast. Some are controversial, some are deep, some are interesting, but they are topics that you need to catch so we can discuss, and you don't want to miss out. So hit that subscribe button so anytime an episode drops, it'll come right to you. Don't forget to share this episode, share this podcast to the people that you know, because I know you got some people who want to get in on the conversation that we're having today. All right, let's get started. This topic is a little controversial in nature. Recently, former President Barack Obama made some headway by some of the comments that he made towards Black men in regards to who they're voting for, who they're not voting for, and if they're voting. So he made some controversial topics that many debates and many opinions were made about what he said. I want to play the video, the comments that he said today in its totality. And then once I play the video, I'll come back and let's have a discussion about some of the things that he said. Okay, let me play the video.
I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths, if you don't mind. Please. Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act, so everybody's got help here, and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting down? I'm not. But, you know, Cousin Pookie might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable. That's not, this shouldn't even be a question.
So you saw the comments that former President Barack Obama made in regards to black men. Like I said, the rhetoric, I guess some of the things that he's been hearing about black men and who they're voting for and who they're not voting for, and if they're going to vote at all. And let me just start off by saying this. I agree on this point that one thing that former President Barack Obama said, and this is just me, this is my opinion. I agree on this, that nobody should be sitting out when it comes to the voting process, especially no black person. Now, I can't tell you what to do. You know, of course, I can't tell you what to do. This is just giving you my 2 cents into the matter, my opinion into the matter. Because when you look at our ancestors, when you look at those who paved the way for us, when you look at those who preceded us, those who came before us, and the hell that they had to go through for us to have the right to vote. They fought, they clawed, they were beat up, some died just for us to have the right to vote. And you may be saying, well, I don't like either candidate. And I understand that. But when you're thinking about sitting out, and when you know what your ancestors had to go through, when you know what those who came before us had to endure to stand up, to get us the right to vote, the water hoses and the dogs and the lynching and the beatings and these things that they had to endure, no matter if you don't like both of the candidates, you don't feel both of the candidates, they are the reason you have that right to vote. You should exercise your right to vote, because your vote matters. Your vote matters. Your vote matters, because not too long ago, those before us were fighting for our vote. We didn't have a right to vote. We didn't have a say in it. So the fact that we now have a say, now I'm not saying everything now is great and everything now is perfect. No, it's not perfect. It's not great. There's always room for improvement, but it's better than what it was before. And you have the right to vote. So this is just my opinion. I believe that nobody should be sitting out of any election because of the price that was paid before for the right to vote. That's just my 2 cents. So I agree with him on that. But my topic today, just based off what the comments that former President Barack Obama said in regards to black men, is there a problem with black men supporting Trump? That's my topic today. I'm not going to sit here and tell you who to vote for. I've had episodes before when I was talking about how blacks are so in love with the Democratic Party and how blacks always vote Democrat over the history. And I asked why. I'm not in love with Democrats. I'm not in love with Republicans. Me, myself, personally, I'm nonpartisan. I look at both sides because I feel like the Democrats are extreme. I feel like the Republicans today are extreme. I feel like one is on one side and the other's on one side. They're both far about to fall off a cliff. And no one has made up their mind to come to the middle to make this country better. That's just me, though. That's just me. So I'm nonpartisan as we talk about these things because I just want us to have a discussion. But the comments that former President Barack Obama stated, is it okay for black men to vote for Trump? Is it okay? Is there a problem with black men voting for Trump? Because that was pretty much what I pulled out of his comments, that there's a problem with black men voting for Trump. So I want to talk about it, all right? Now, he says something in his comments, something else I want to talk about. He said that he believes that a lot of men, or he's taking from what he's hearing, that a lot of men are not probably voting for Vice President Kamala Harris because she's a woman, that they don't want a woman running the show. Now, I will say I believe there are some men who fit that criteria because I've talked to some. I've known some who they don't get down with a woman being president. They're not ready for that yet. There are some men like that. Let's be honest out there. There are some men like that. There are some men who won't vote for a woman. They don't want a woman leader. So I believe that is true in part. I believe that's true in part because there are some men like that. Like I said, I've known some men, no matter what policies the woman is bringing, no matter what the woman is saying, they won't vote for her. If she's going against a man, they'll vote for the man. Regardless, there are some men like that. But I don't believe that's the majority. When we're talking about black men, when we're addressing black men, I don't believe that's the majority of black men. The black men who say, I'm not voting for Vice President Kamala Harris, I don't believe the majority of them are saying it because she's a woman. There are some. There is some. But I don't believe that's the majority of them. I believe the majority of them probably just don't like her as a candidate. They just don't like her as a candidate. Because we're addressing black men, right? Something he said about Kamala Harris, he was saying that, oh, someone that, grew up with you, someone that knows you. But when he was saying that, and he's talking to black men, one of the reasons I believe that a lot of black men kind of frown themselves when it comes to Vice President Kamala Harris is because her track record as a lead prosecutor in California. Because of her track record as district attorney in California. Because he said, oh, there's a woman there who grew up with you, who knows you, who went to school with you. He said, oh, the women in our lives, when he tried to make it about being a woman, the gender, he said, the women in our lives, they have our back. That's true. The women in our lives have our back. But when you look at the track record, for a lot of men, this is not me, for a lot of men, and some of the things I've been seeing, a lot of men, they don't believe that Vice President Kamala Harris would have their back. You see what I'm saying? Because when you look at her track record as a lead prosecutor in California, most of her power, most of her authority, most of the clamps that was put down over the course of her career was against black men. A lot of mass incarceration during her tenure as lead prosecutor. Now, she did some good things. That she did some good things. I know she went after some of the for-profit colleges while she was there. She did some good things out there. But just talking about black men, a lot of her track record, you see mass incarceration are black men. So a lot of black men are looking at her, and then you hear what Barack Obama is saying, and they're like, it doesn't add up to us. It doesn't add up to us because, yeah, the women in our lives have our back, but it seemed like this woman here was sending us to prison. Let's just have a discussion. Let's just have a discussion because I believe this is where a lot of men are coming from. And she's saying she's going to take care of the black man. She's going to take care of the black family. But there were a lot of black families that were torn apart by some of the cases and some of the charges that she brought forth in her time against black men. So this is where I believe a lot of this enmity or this animosity comes from. It's not because she's a woman. I don't believe. There are some, but I believe that it's not a majority, but I believe that a majority just don't like her as a candidate. And not just her as a candidate, but a lot of them just don't like some of the policies that are coming forth. Me personally, like I said, I'm nonpartisan. I don't go Democrat. I don't go Republican. But to me personally, the Democrats have become too progressive over the years. And she's a part of that. That's just me personally. The Democrats have been a progressive party. They pride themselves being on progressive party. But to me, they become extreme over the years. And you see the shape of the nation, in my opinion, because of it. That's just me as a black man. But another thing I just want to point out in regards to what former President Barack Obama said, when you're dealing with black men, we're not monolithic. They try to make us monolithic. They try to make us as one, that we're all the same, and we're not. And that's the problem right there. I remember, let me tell you a story. I remember one day I was in downtown Chicago, and I ran into a demonstration by Black Lives Matter, right? At the time in Chicago, the mayor was Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel, if you remember Rahm Emanuel being mayor of Chicago, it was Rahm Emanuel. And because of the shootings, some of the shootings, the crime that was going on in the city of Chicago, South Side, West Side, they were there protesting, trying to get people to sign a petition to have Rahm Emanuel fired as mayor of Chicago. So I'm coming past, and this lady, she's trying to get, it's a group of us, we're coming past, we're walking downtown Chicago, and she's trying to get a group of us to sign this petition. And we kind of ignore her. We walk past, we didn't want, honestly, we weren't living in Chicago. It was for Chicago residents at that time. We weren't living in Chicago. We were living outside of Chicago in a suburb of Chicago. So we weren't Chicago residents. So really, Rahm Emanuel being mayor didn't affect us. So we bypassed her. We didn't say anything. We walked past her. But then she got aggressive. She got aggressive, and she started saying things. And she's like, "Oh, what if it's your brother, your sister who gets shot?" And she kept coming at us. She kept talking to us. So I turned back and I said, well, a lot of times it starts in-house. A lot of times it starts in-house because I believe your first education is at home. I believe that how you raise up your kid in-house as a mother, as a father, or as a guardian affects that child. That's what I believe. So I made that comment, and all hell broke loose. I mean, like, a couple of Black Lives Matter people came, and I don't want to say any names. I know the leader. I don't want to say any names, but the leader came and called me Uncle Tom. Put the camera on me, and I thought it was about to turn physical. But we had a debate, and what I told him, this is where I'm going. What I told him, because all his and all there who were there, the Black Lives Matter, all their finger pointing was at Rahm Emanuel. Okay, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. You have your right. But because they wanted him fired, they thought that we should want the same. And we're not monolithic. That's where I'm going. We're not the same. We're not going to all think the same. We're not all going to react the same. We're not going to all do the same things. And they always put Black people in the same basket. That's where I'm trying to go. And I feel like former President Barack Obama was trying to put us all in one basket because it's Kamala Harris. Quote unquote, there's a lot of controversy, quote unquote, what he was trying to say because she's a Black woman, quote unquote, because there's a lot of controversy about her being actually a Black woman. Not even trying to talk about that today. But because she's labeled as a Black woman, when she was labeled before as Indian, now she's Black. But she's labeled as a Black woman. They expect you to jump on board. They expect you to be monolithic. They expect everybody to be the same. And that's not who we are, because every Black person is not the same. We don't think all the same. We don't do all the same things. We don't believe all the same things. We don't live our life the same way. We're not a machine. We're not robots. We're human beings. We have diversity within ourselves. We're different. So you can't expect all Black people to think the same. That's just what I wanted to say, because I feel like they do it. And I feel like that's what former President Barack Obama was doing. Oh, because she's Black, you should be on board. But everybody doesn't think that way. People are looking at what she represents. People are looking what he, being Trump, represents, how it's going to affect us. And then they're making their decisions. It's not just because she's Black. Not just because that. We did that with you, Barack. We did that with you. Now, I love Barack Obama. I love Barack Obama. Now, was he a great president? That's another topic for another day. But we did that with him. We did that with Barack. Because he's Black, we voting. I did that with him. I was like, look, because he's Black, I'm voting for Barack. I don't care what nobody say. I ain't even hear the debates. I was like, I'm voting for that man, Barack. We do that. We do that. Stop playing games, y'all. Stop playing games. We do that. But this is not one of those times. I think people are looking closer at the candidates. They're looking closer at the economy and looking closer at the shape of America, and they're making their own decisions. Just because they're Black, they're not going. They're not going anymore. They're not just going to bypass and say, oh, I'm just going to vote. You got my vote just because you're Black. No, we're not monolithic, and we have to stop that way of thinking. Another thing I will say is that we have to stop. I know I just told you that I voted for Barack Obama just off of, GP, just because he was Barack Obama, he was Black. That's an emotional vote. I can be honest with you. That was an emotional vote. And I believe that we have to stop voting off our emotions. In 2024, the election is coming soon. Whoever you vote for, I'm not going to sit here and tell you who to vote for. Whoever you vote for, that's your right. But don't vote off emotions, because that's what they're trying to get you to vote off emotions. I know a lady who I saw her on social media. She didn't tell me this, but I was reading her post on social media. She's been talking a lot about Vice President Kamala Harris and this election and different things of that nature. And she said that if you're a Black man and you vote for Trump, then you should unfriend me on social media. And I was like, wow, is it that deep? Is it that serious? That's emotion right there. That you would actually, unfriend someone. I'm sure real friendships have fallen apart because of politics. That's too deep. That's too deep. Because at the end of the day, once the election is over, your life still goes on. So don't be emotional. But which candidate, I plead with you, which candidate is going to affect you for the good in a positive way for you and your family for the years to come? That's who you vote for, and that's your right. But don't base off of emotion. Like I said, we did that with Barack. I did that with Barack. But I've learned, don't base off emotion. But who's better? for you and for your family. That's all I have for you today. I just want to know your 2 cents on this topic, on this conversation. Is there a problem with black men supporting Trump? Because that was the gist of the comments that former President Barack Obama spilled out. Is there a problem with it? Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know your opinion. Before I get out of here, I want to give a shout out to the Dream Team, Blessed Dreams Production, my boy Alfred, Eyes Have Not Seen, my sister Marilyn. Don't forget to share this podcast. Don't forget to connect with me on Instagram, YoungKing1982. And to the next time another episode drops, be blessed. God bless you.
Don't ever take nothing for granted, man. Hey, you gotta wake up and realize that it all seem like things.